Can you cuss on this thing?
You can. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Good Times Hour. All right, Paul, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, please welcome to the tee our next special guest. He's the guy who bought into the frisbee life from a simple commercial where it was all shoop, shoop, hula hoop, and frisbee fun under the sun. He's the big dish from the Tar Heel State, the PDGA Rules Commish who helped make a simple game and make it great. NC State U is where he learned how to think and do, where the Wolfpack runs right in red and white, and where the first course he laid down came to life. This captain has his eyes on the prize while scanning the skies of the perils of the ride. He's the Bubba who bowled his way through Durham, and he rallied at Raleigh, but it's his game and his name that brought him to the Hall of Fame. He's the risk management specialist who thinks the credit game rat race is for the cuckoo, the one who thinks to have a ball while risking it all for the big fish in the Cinnaruku. He's concise, his game is precise, and he's always one of those guys who's named his fame for what he's done for the game. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the tee, joining us from lovely Raleigh, North Carolina, Carlton, the Frisbee man from the Variety Vacation Land, Howard.
Hey now. That's
Ah.
very tough. That's very tough to follow, but I do love poetry. Yeah. It sounds kind of impressive when you say
it. Well, it looks pretty impressive when you see your life through photos in the game, my friend. Honestly, it's been fun.
Thank you so much
putting this all together. Thanks so much for joining us. This is going to be a fun Good Times Hour plus.
Well, I'm honored. This is incredible. I've had a lot of fun playing frisbee, and to get a little bit of recognition is just unbelievable. Yes, just an amazing sport.
Well, we're definitely going to dig into some of your history and like we talked about earlier in the week or over the weekend. Just want to hear some of your good times. I mean, you and I have had some really good times, and man, I caught a fish that seemed like a tree trunk, and then I didn't get him to the boat, and I mean, it was the biggest one I didn't get that time, and so I've had a really good time fishing with you before. But we're going to talk about some frisbee stuff first.
Cool.
So you're Carlton H Howard III. What does the H stand for?
That's a secret. You're trying to crack into my bank account, aren't you? I can't give up. Well, I'm not on Facebook. Yeah, you cyber thieves are clever. It's Hubbard. It's Hubbard.
Hubbard. Okay. All right.
I changed it legally though to hellacious.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody else tuned in is surprised by that either. So your PDGA number is 2300, and if you've caught any of the shows at all, you know that this is one of the first things we key in on. And why did you get your PDGA number? Was it because of a particular event, or was it the first time it was available? What led you to getting your PDGA number?
Specifically, it was to officially join the PDGA so I could play in the Worlds in Huntsville in '83. You had to be a PDGA member to go to Worlds. And of course, one of my mentors was Alan Beaver. Another one was Tom Monroe. So, when you got guys whose footsteps like that you can follow, yeah, hell, I want to sign me up. If I can play with those two guys, sign me up. So that was specifically it. Kind of funny story though. I've always been a complainer, and so Alan Beaver and I sent our money into Ed Hedrick at the same time because we were super tight. We're traveling together. We're going to play doubles. He's lefty, I'm a righty. We're going to rule the world. And so sent our money, and I had a letter of complaint with mine. So Alan gets his number. He's like 1314 or something. I get nothing. Nothing. We sent our money in like in April. So in September, I'm writing Ed, trying to call him. Hey, where's my? He said, hey, you never paid me. Ed Hedrick is who I mean here, because the money went to Ed. Yeah. He said, hey, you never paid me. I said, all right, I'll send you a canceled check. I worked at the place where the check was written, So I mailed him a canceled check. Oh, you're sorry, I mean, Ed was, wonderful guy, quite an entrepreneur, but not sure he was excellent on record keeping. But I did have I stung him pretty good in my letter because you're paying money to join something, and you really weren't getting anything, and there was nothing for the players, nothing for AMs, So I started out complaining. So I got 2300. So I would have been like 1318 or something. But so I've often wondered, did Ed give me a nice round number, kind of as a reward? Did he give it a head? Because but here's what's spooky about it. Pick up an Aviar and look at the numbers. Big Beat Aviar is 2300.
Oh, yeah. Well before the flight numbers, but still.
Yeah,
There's the
same
Mandela
thing.
effect
But
right
hey,
there.
Hey,
hey,
but wait. Your 2300 is PFN, pre-flight numbers.
right. So when they gave the AVR the numbers, they said, "Damn, Carlton's 2,300. This disc, he's made so much money with one. This disc has got to be have his."
We better send him 25 free.
It's kind of an ear, it's kind of okay. I guess it's stupid.
So that's
Well, no,
the thing.
listen. The thing that's really cool is that if you watch, if you continue to watch some of our shows, you'll see that almost everybody has a story like yours. Not exactly like yours, but we've heard lots of times if I had got my number when my buddies got theirs, I was already playing, but I didn't care about it. Or,
Yeah.
I've heard a similar story about Tom Monroe and Carl and Levon. Like Tom Monroe's 33 and Levon's like 586 or something. And Tom waited for Levon and waited for Levon and then couldn't wait anymore. And so that's what happened with that, but everybody seems to have a story.
But
Yeah.
this is the first time possibly we've seen a delay in PDGA number due to a clerical error or postage, or due to Steady Ed's perhaps less than professional record keeping.
Just a payment dispute, So,
I think it's great.
yeah.
All right. So you joined in 82. You're also an International Frisbee Association member. Do you know your number in that?
I could go
number?
look it up. I got it.
Oh, you don't have to right
framed
now.
on the wall in the frisbee room.
Okay.
Well, we got other questions, so don't worry about that one.
Yeah.
So you're the Raleigh Area Disc League member number 003. Who got number 002 and 001?
001 was Eric Junkin. A lot of guys out there will know Eric. He's a genius from Natchez, Mississippi. I met him. I worked at an IBM credit union. He was one of my customers of the credit union. And so he heard about disc golf, came out and played, loved it. IBMer, genius, computer. So he kind of pushed us into the computer age. So the Raleigh Area Disc League was doing some stuff on computer, a little earlier than most spots were. I think Frank Allen and Mike Hughes with the Arizona Worlds, I think that was the first Worlds. Was that 90, 91, 90 or 91?
90.
Yeah.
I think that was that they were using barcodes, but that was Eric helped us in that same kind of way.
Wow.
Yeah. But he said, I want to be rattled 001. Well, my lucky number's 3, so I wanted to be 03, so I didn't care. And he said, I'll pay extra. I'm like, okay. Instead of $10, he paid double. So yeah. I'm like, damn, I get in. So anybody that's forming like a club and their number, and I always tell them that, hey, find out who'll pay for a number, and you can make a little extra money. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so who was number 2?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Wow, I can't believe we stumped you this quick.
Well, okay, I could make up an answer, but no, I could dig through the archives. I probably got boxes of stuff in the attic, but
it's all right. That's not necessary. So you're a writer.
They have a card. They have a laminated card, so they could raise their hand and say, "Hey, I'm number 2."
The corners might be peeling at this point, though.
Oh yeah, well, if you hung it on your bag, mine's all ragtaggy and torn, but I got it somewhere.
So your Riders of the Wind number is 43. Your Acorn Hill member number is 10. Your member number 115 of the De La Viega Disc Golf Club. You joined the 10th of January, 1990. I like that. It's pretty cool. You got a whole bunch of different memberships. Again, we pretty much threw out our script and we just went with your bio for the script tonight.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to put up with that. When the North Carolina Disc Golf Hall of Fame was formed, found out I was going to be inducted, and it was a great honor, and then they said, hey, tell us what you did. I'm like, well, you didn't write all that stuff down. You're busy doing stuff and playing. They're also trying to be a championship golfer,
you have like 10 pages of time.
What's that? I don't know.
Tell me you're busy.
Technology. Yeah. I don't have a 13-year-old in the house, so all our technology sucks. Yeah.
No tech support there. But it's true. I mean, you are of the era. I mean, you're straddling 2 eras, but of the era originally of the paper and pen variety of disc golf management, where, I mean, we'll talk about this later, but Steve Lambert was the one who invented the tournament scoreboard. And you have been there through all that kind of initial difficult evolutionary process of going, especially for information, which is easily lost. And like you say, you're focused on playing, you're focused on the good times, you're focused on winning. Nowadays, everything's done. I don't think you see much paper anyways, and it's all on computer.
Yeah, that's amazing. What blew me away was when when you could go to a golf tournament, there weren't scorecards. I mean, I had a golf background. I mean, I played golf growing up, worked in a country club. My mom paid for me to have golf lessons. When you get in the business world, you'll need to be able to play golf to swing business deals. Lo and behold, she was right. So I had a strong golf background. When I came to disc golf, it's like, hey, we need scorecards. So when we got Kentwood in, I went around and got businesses. We had professional scorecards with advertising on them and map of the course, and that. But then you got to have pencils. So you had to buy pencils, And of course, being the rules committee chairman back then, you had to have a mini. Nobody had minis. Where could you get them? So the club had to have minis so you could give them to players so they could be legal, So it was funny. Some of the guys that, learned to play and started playing at rattle events, they'd go elsewhere and play. Hey, we didn't get a mini. You always got that when you went and played in the tournament, right?
You got your customers trained.
Yeah.
So
it's golf, keeping accurate score, that stuff matters. It's easier to do if you write it down,
In 1997, you won the PDGA Volunteer of the Year award, the Fred Fletcher Award, Raleigh's highest honor for volunteerism in parks award, the Award of Excellence. Man, I mean, dude, I'm not even halfway through all of this.
Well, when there's nothing there, it's easy to do something. In 1980, what were there? 88 disc golf courses in the world. In 1980,
Wow.
88 disc golf courses in the world. That's pole hole, right? That's the head, it's the established regulatory target. But there was no, object courses where you'd play to a light pole or a trash can. Some of those existed, but who knew? There was none in city parks anywhere. So if you wanted to play frisbee, here in North Carolina, no courses, no tournaments. All right. Well, I thought I was pretty talented and I thought I could play. And more importantly, it's like, just how fun is frisbee? Not just disc golf. I mean, in terms of sports, baseball, when I found baseball as a kid, that was the ultimate. I could play baseball every day, all day long. And then same thing, ultimate, that's the greatest game there's ever been. And then golf is always hypnotic, traditional golf. And then you can do it with a frisbee and see it fly. So once you bump into all these things, I'm like, damn, I like doing this and I'm pretty good at it. So know where to do it. Okay, let's get a course. Once you get a course, hey, there's no tournaments. Great. Hey, let's hold a tournament. And then once you start having tournaments, everybody else can do it. But it's easy to accomplish stuff when there's nothing there.
So did you receive the Fred Fletcher Award based on your work with disc golf specifically in
yes, absolutely, mainly with Kentwood and Cedar Hills. We did a lot of work at Cedar Hills. Anybody from the coast will be familiar with hurricanes. They'll come through. Fran came through. You couldn't even you could be on the tee and not even get to the hole. That's how devastating the damage was. And just got different offers. Rattle was powerful. We had a lot of guys and a lot of capable guys, not just on the disc golf course. They could work a chainsaw. And so we, boatload of work. And so the funny thing about that is my two contacts at Park and Rec nominated me. I didn't even know about it. Nobody I said, hey, you won the biggest award Raleigh has. I'm like, what? So we realized all the effort you were putting in, every other park thing we got. There's no participatory group that helps. You guys will do it all if we let you. And we realized, hey, somebody got it the year before, and it's Gene Tomlinson and Bill Cook with Raleigh Parks and Rec. And they said, hey, somebody won it the year before. You've done 10 times the work they've done, And so I win it, and then years later, I nominated Steve Millward, pro, a lot of you guys will know, a Rattle member, and he will also won it for his work at Cedar Hills.
Wow.
So,
that's really impressive because I think that most of us have an opposite experience. I can't say that I do now, but I've seen the opposite experience so many different times that where they're just like going, well, you can do what you want out here, but you're gonna have to pay for all of it, and then all that's gonna be ours. And I've seen that personally.
With
And I
Kentwood,
get it.
we did pay for all of it. It was Kentwood. We proved our concept. We paid for all of it. You know, that was kind of, yeah, Kentwood. We find, you know, brief story. So 1980, I'm at NC State. We're graduating. We're discovering this overall frisbee world. And by jingo, we want to have events, and we start holding all around events in Raleigh, but we don't have a disc golf course. We've got this object course on campus at NC State. You know, light poles, fire hydrant, trash cans, great targets. You know. But you know, we wanted something official, you know, gosh, there's 88 of these in the world, you know. And so we kept going to Parks and Rec and asking for a disc golf course. Hey, y'all are college kids, y'all are transients, y'all aren't paying, you know, taxes, you know, basically ignoring us. Well, I graduated, Ed Burke graduated, Tony Tomasino graduated, Todd Grisham graduated, and then we went back to, hey, guess what? We live here now. We pay taxes. We're not transient. We won't disc golf. So we kept going, you know, going and going. And finally, the landscape architect for the city of Raleigh, John Hoppy, real progressive, in fact, wonderful guy. He was probably 65 at the time, probably my age at the time. And he said, it's wonderful. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. I think this sport is wonderful, and I think they should have a course.
Nice.
But they should pay for it, right? So that was Ed Burt was leading our charge, Ed and Tony and I and Todd. And so Ed said, we'll take it. You know, we'll put in objects. So, and got the shop department for the city of Raleigh built our targets. They were 4x4 posts with a wooden round disc about 8 inches in diameter with little bitty chains hanging down to a little ring around the 4x4 post. So you had a miniature, way smaller than a regular basket, but explains why a lot of guys that learned on that course could put lights out, because the basket was smaller than those Challenger things people use today.
Yeah, okay.
Our target was a third that size.
Wow.
You know? But
Wow.
and we had one basket. So I said, hey, why don't we hold a monthly and just, you know, give away discs, and we'll charge $3 and we'll raise money and we'll buy more baskets. And Ed and some of the other guys said, hey, you'll never get 18 baskets like that. I said, well, if I only get one, that's twice as many as we got. So what a huge success would that be? And, you know, well, nobody wants to play every month. Well, there weren't events, you know, I did, you know, and I said, well, you know, let's try. And so lo and behold, people did want to play every month, you know. And this is 80, you know, I think there was a course in Horizons. There was 2 courses in North Carolina, 18 pole holes in Horizons Park in Winston-Salem. There was a 9-hole course at a mental hospital, private, locked up, couldn't play it unless you were a patient.
That's right across the street from Paul's house.
Yeah. I thought he looked familiar. So anyway, you know, there was, you know, nobody's putting on events. So lo and behold, you know, our monthlies got big as could be. And in 18 months, we had gotten 13 baskets. We had 14 out of 18. It's October. I go by just having lunch with my guys from Park and Rec, just seeing them, you know, Bill and Gene. And Gene looks at Bill and says, you know, it's the end of the year. Don't we have money in our X of the budget that we're going to lose? Yeah. So they went in one of their slush funds for maintenance, you know, and bought the last 4 baskets for us.
Wow, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So in 18 months, we had 18 baskets. Yeah. And so, and then running a monthly, then everybody's hooked. I mean, people were coming from Charlotte, where a course went in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I'd send, you know, making flyers now, sneaking to the copier at work, cutting out pictures, using label makers to make flyers. Right? There's no computer, right? No computer, right? Then I'm mailing those to wherever there was a pot of players that I knew about, right? Or there was a course, whether, you know. And so I mailed some to Jacksonville, North Carolina. And suddenly we had 6 to 8 Marines from Camp Lejeune playing disc golf. Great, coming, playing our monthlies every month. Gary Gousson, Terry Saunier. Terry was from Louisiana and a crack shot. That dude he was pro in 4 months, to be fair. Yeah, we had a huge contingent of, fully grown men, Marines. Yeah, I'm just a 24-year-old kid, we had 35-year-old Marines showing up,
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, how cool is that? Every month, the guys from Virginia Beach would come. We were having 100 and some people at every monthly.
Yeah.
Then it kind of caused some disappointment with our club because so a course goes in Burlington, there's a course in High Point. The Winston-Salem group, Phil Heitman's driving that. It gets more organized. So what do they start doing? Well, they have monthlies too. And everybody says, well, I said, hey, we're not about having to, well, we're not about having a huge crowd. We're about putting on a quality event for the people that think enough about you to come and play in your town. Right. So if they're playing in Burlington or High Point or Greensboro instead of coming to Raleigh, hey, I've accomplished my objective. We all started out, Ed, Tony, and Todd and I, trying to promote frisbee play in North Carolina. Our goal wasn't to be the biggest club in the world or produce the best players. That was my goal, but that wasn't our club goal.
Right on. Right on.
Our main, because we had put out the North Carolina Flying Disc newsletter, Ed and I and Todd, before that to promote frisbee play in North Carolina. So we had, we put out this little newsletter, typewritten, photocopied. I was begging friends of mine to do artwork. This is well before, and there was hardly even mainframe computers being used. It's 1979, And we had like 100 subscribers, people I've never met to this day, and that kind of, led
That's
to
pretty amazing.
probably a dislike. Yeah. We were just trying to get people to play free. There was pockets of, there was some guys in Kinston, North Carolina, the DJs there. We got a little card for them that says, we jam in the air and on the air, I never met these guys, but for 3 years, they sent us $10 a year for our newsletter.
Wow.
And we found out, hey, the floater, there's a newsletter in Minnesota, there's a newsletter in Canada. What was that? And so we sent our newsletter and everybody else, would send us theirs. We would just swap,
That's
newsletter.
cool.
Yeah, super
That's
cool. Yeah.
Well, so that the thing about that that's pretty amazing is that we've been learning for the last 3 months about all this frisbee history, and then we've dug super deep, and it's really cool to just hear, okay, well, this is exactly like we know, and we've talked about some of the first courses that went in, but you're one of the first people, aside from Crazy and his imitation of Ace Mason about picking up the baskets from Lawrence, for Rosedale. And like, it's lots of people have pointed out, okay, this was the first course in the state, but you're one of the few people that was involved in that actual installation that we've gotten to talk to so far. And so it's really, really fascinating. And it's not at all by accident, I'm sure, that the following facts are true about you: that you were the PDGA competition director at one time. You were also on the rules committee. Then you were the chairman of the rules committee from '84 to 2008. You were and you're a disc golf and have been a disc golf ambassador for End of a Champion disc. Sorry, I'm rarely tongue-tied. And then in 1998, you were inducted into the Disc Golf Hall of Fame with John Houck and Greg Hosfeld. And that's almost, I don't think it's really Three Stooges, but it's definitely three different people in that class. And I mean, that's,
It was the year of the hoe. 3 hoes got in. Hosfeld, Houck, and Howard.
Someone had alliteration on the mind when they thought.
ho, 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 it's Christmas time, right?
But yeah,
So,
you got to love
what
being in with those two guys.
well, okay, and those two guys, I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's really, really quality company there. But then here's another list of quality company as well. And that's your inaugural class of the 2004 North Carolina Disc Golf Hall of Fame. And Harold Duvall, Steve Lambert, Stan McDaniel, Alan Beaver, and yourself. I mean, it's that's a lot of Clydesdales pulling the North Carolina and the South Carolina wagon of disc golf,
Yeah, one goofball and the rest of the guys are really awesome.
Well,
I just rode on their coattails.
there always has to be a court jester, right?
That's right. That's right.
I don't know about that, but before we get to the destination, let's talk about the journey, especially the start. You are, as we talked before we went onto the air here, we were talking about you basically learning the whole idea of the game from your grandfather, John Haywood Lane. He graduated from North Carolina State University, your alma mater, And you have a yearbook dated from 1921 showing him there. He claimed that when he was in college there, that they used to play with the tin lids from Luter's Smithfield pure lard containers. Tell us about learning at your grandfather's knee about this exciting thing about tin lid throwing.
Well, of course, my grandfather was an amazing guy, NC State grad, so you have that right there. Kind of interesting, though, my grandmother was a college grad. Kind of rare for a woman in the 20s. You remember how discriminatory America was to women.
Yeah.
They couldn't even vote then. Her mother went to college, so yeah, I was fortunate to go to college too. But anyway, granddad was a really neat guy. I'm very fortunate. And really an out of the box guy for somebody born in 1896. And so I didn't put this together, the Luter's Pure Smithfield. You can Google it. Yeah, Luter still makes lard today. If you're gonna fry something, lard's what you want to fry it in. Ask all your top chefs.
Right.
But everything in 1960, glass was being used, but plastics hadn't really hit the stage then, and so a lot of stuff still came in those large containers, and so a gallon container is pretty good size for playing frisbee. And so we were on the porch, and he said, "Hey, when I was in college, we threw these and we had a blast." And so we started playing catch. And so that was right about the time I got my first frisbee after seeing the Whammo commercial. But I didn't put two and two together until probably till I was in my 30s, and it's like the memory came rushing back to me. But it's super neat, It's the same thing, I've met 14 people that claim they invented disc golf. A million,
Oh,
yeah,
15.
yeah. Well, what I always tell when everybody's talking about Ed Hedrick, I said, Ed Hedrick didn't invent disc golf. I was playing disc golf before I ever knew who the guy was. What Ed Hedrick did was he invented the uniform target. He made disc golf comparable on any course to any other course by having a consistent target. Because back in the early days, there was ground baskets, made out of wire with a tobacco stick in them. There was culvert placed in the ground, or you just tape on trees. We were fortunate to have any. We brought up poor and orphans. We had to play the trees with tape on them.
Make do as do. Hey, Mace, can you share the screen? Make sure I can share screen. Because when you mentioned this frisbee commercial, I think I found it, and I just want to play it for you here. Okay.
Should be
So
there.
first of all, there's the Luter's. There's an actual Luter's Smithfield lard can. But
the lid is overstable. I'm telling you, you can get one and throw it. Great trade.
Was this the commercial? Do you remember?
The one I like the most, and it may be on this clip because I'm old and forgetful. There's a throw that goes up a sand dune. It like air bounces up a sand dune. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And then
we saw one there behind the back catch that was done real stylishly. There's early drone technologies right there.
The thing flies. You're throwing something that flies. Like I say, I was a huge. We played sports all the time where I grew up in Podunk. Baseball, year round. But and then you got something that flies. Not only can you throw it, then it flies. That's one of the
flies like crazy according to me.
Isn't that one of the big charges of the sport? You make it go where you want it to go, and then it does. You see some incredible things.
Here's the other commercial.
I still dress like that.
Yeah, we noticed.
It works. When I get clothing that works, I just stick with it.
So, the basic thing is that
just Climo, just like
the frisbee was huge in the zeitgeist, and wherever a person happened to see it, generally with a lot of our guests, it was the same kind of, bell ringing in the mind, kind of gong. Oh my God, what is this? I need to get this in my life. Crazy John saw it. He was going through the quad, and people were playing it, and he saw the tip. Or that's the other thing that also that John Houck saw was the tip. So for you, it's the commercial, and you realize I've got to have this. Now, again, you just said you run to Podunk Junction, and it's times are tight, and you don't even have the 69 cents to spare for the frisbee, but you know you want it, and you're begging your mom. Finally, she relents. You get a frisbee. Now, what's the first thing you do with this? You're now master of flight.
The crazy thing about a frisbee, you don't really think about it when you're a young kid or even an old guy buying them. Is before you knew about disc golf, how you gonna play with it? There's nobody to catch it and throw it back, And with a baseball, you could switch to a tennis ball or super ball, rubber ball. You could bounce it off the wall. You get a net and throw a baseball into it, and it'll come back. Can't do that with the frisbee. So I get home and I'm like, okay, Then you got to convince your friends, hey, this new little pop in thing might be fun to throw. Right. So at first I'm just throwing it, trying to figure out, can I throw it? Because it looks easy on the commercial. Those early discs, not a little less aerodynamic than some of the things we're throwing today. But again, flat flip flies straight. It said so right on the disc. Well, not exactly. A little bit of hyzer was required. Some snap, but you figured it out, right? And so at first I'm just throwing the bushes and trees. Interesting, Alan Bieber did about the same thing. I was just imagining. It's like cowboys and Indians, it's a good hand grenade. So if I throw it and get it within 10 feet, I'm blowing up the cowboy or whoever's trying to kill that cowboy or the Indian. And so I kind of started made my own disc golf game just because I was I was alone, and no, I'm just kidding. Just because you had to convince somebody else to be your partner, right? Of course, once people saw how fun it was, that wasn't that hard. Like I'm saying, this is 1967. In 1980, organized frisbee meant you had somebody you could meet with and play catch. That was the extent of organized frisbee in 1980, right? Disc golf hadn't even 88 courses in the world, right? Disc golf hadn't even taken off yet. Ultimately, it was only invented in 68. It was just starting to hit the colleges in 80, right? Late 70s, early 80, so there was just not really much frisbee going on other than, you getting to go with a friend and playing catch.
Well, let's talk about that. August 1976, you get onto the campus of North Carolina State University, and you got some friends there, and you guys discover, hey, we can make a course on the campus. You're playing first with the masters, but then you disc up to the 165 gram lids and the 119s. You say that that course that you guys laid out there was longer and more monstrous than some of the other courses that you saw for years afterwards. How is that? Like you meet up with other heads on the course on the campus, and this is it, stepping into the future now?
Who does, golf courses have short holes and long holes, right? And so the guy that designed this, his name's Mike Mason, not the Mike Mason we know from Kansas City. He's an engineer from Wilmington at NC State. And, he'd heard about disc golf, read about disc golf. And then I got the book by Stancil Johnson, the Frisbee.
Okay.
Actually, Sidney Wells, who I was in my dorm at Bragall at NC State, we were playing foosball. We kind of met up, and he looked like he might throw frisbees. Hey, you like? Yeah, I like to throw frisbee. And so like a week later, I saw the Stancil book. I bought it, read it cover from cover, and I lent it to Sidney. And that's the first time I've seen disc golf. Right, it was in that book. Yeah, I knew it exists, but also talked about a sidearm in that book. Right. Never seen one, right? They had all these throws and you had these weird pictures, but none instructional, a bunch of definitions of crazy terms. Again, totally useless, but did pique everybody's interest on. Anyway, I lent that book to Sidney. He lends it to Mike, says, hey, Mike's designed a disc golf course you want to play. And so then we go out and play. And the hot disc Whammo was pushing at the time was a master. You can Google them, giant mat. They're white and black. All these flight rings and a little gold sticker in the top, in the cupola, and on the bottom, you could put your name and address on there. And if it ever got lost, they could drop it at any post box and it would be returned to you, and Whammo would pay the postage.
Wow.
Yeah, can you believe that shit? So we all got our names on it. We're thinking, hey, we're gonna get this back. Well, of course, you break them before you lose them. It's plastic, and they had so many flight rings that you thought it'd go, But that was the big time disc in terms of Whammo's market. Again, only place you can buy discs is at a retail store like Kmart, or Walmart today.
Sure.
And so that's what I was playing trick catches with, was a black master. I'd had a white one and it cracked, got a black one, and play with that. So go out there and play disc golf with Sidney Wales and Mike Mason. And I'm in the hunt right away, right? I might lose by 2 strokes the first round, and that didn't last long. And then suddenly it's me or Mike winning every day. But you quickly realize Mike had a 165 of the first lids, That thing went way further. So the third day, Sydney and I are, we go to eat lunch. We go to Kmart on Western Boulevard, and we buy a 165. I mean, the disc made a huge difference,
Sure.
Q Innova in 1983, Q the Kitty Hawk, Super Pro. The disc made a huge difference, And,
Right.
Yeah. And so we're sitting there, hey, can we make it go further? We're melting candles and putting wax in the center of them. We're drilling a hole in it. And we're at NC State, an engineering school, man. We're going to make something better, or blow it up, And, then all of a sudden, we figure out the 119, there's 40 molds would go way further than the 165. It's great to have engineers around.
They could tell you the whys and wherefores for sure.
And so from there it was, apartment complex I moved to later on. A friend of a friend designed a course there, and I started playing with them, kicking their ass too, And then finally I heard about an organized frisbee event, and I went to that and met the NC State guys, Tony and Ed and Todd, and got into the Raleigh kind of scene, started playing ultimate, and and then everything took off. I was ready to go, had just a fabulous core group of guys, Ed, Tony, and Todd, and we young and smart and stupid, and as I was talking to Rick Rothstein the other day, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we knew we needed to do something, know where to play. Okay, we'll fix that. No competitive scene, we'll create that, and
now back in the day, I know just from doing some reading on you, at the time, South Carolina actually led the way in terms of the Carolinas for disc golf. There were 4 pay-to-play courses in Myrtle Beach and nothing in Raleigh. The first course that was really, I think, in North Carolina was the Horizons Park in Winston-Salem. That was the Tom Monroe course. Okay. I know Tom Monroe was paid by WAMO to basically be the WAMO representative in the Southeast. And so his thing was the big van with the Frisbee South, and he would go to college campuses and he would do exhibitions and he would put in court. He was the Johnny Appleseed of the Southeast for disc golf.
His role in disc golf is completely understated.
Yeah.
It's about like Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley, one of my heroes. Annie Oakley was a fabulous shot. Everything you heard is probably a gross understatement, right? Annie Oakley was bad. Tom Monroe is like Annie Oakley. Tom Monroe, you can make a good case that he's the second most influential person in disc golf after Ed Hedrick. So he's very close to my heart, dear friend, very encouraging when I was a young player, coming up. And he definitely was part of the impetus that drove Ed Burt, Tony Tomasino, Todd Gershong, and I to do a little bit of mess we did. He said, hey, Tom can do it, we can do it, Yeah. So the courses at Myrtle Beach, I never played those. I went to a couple of tournaments down there, but I was young and scared, and and then I thought, hey, I can probably do this, and then once you get a course, and then you got something you can work with, and you really see if you got something going. Here's an interesting comment. What I love today, we got so many great players in every sport. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that: better coaching, better opportunities to play, and you got easy access to instructional videos, particularly on YouTube, right? See it in baseball, you see it in everything. You particularly see it in disc golf, and it's exciting because you can go out there and you can, so compare that to when I started, right? There was no video of anybody throwing anywhere but the WAMO commercials, right? I knew the sidearm was a throw, but I'd never seen anybody throw it. It took me 3 years to teach my slow learner. It took me 3 years to teach myself to throw sidearm. And the Stancil book, there's a picture of a guy, one, He's somewhere in his motion, right? But they'd never seen anybody throw one.
Yeah,
And
you can't figure out anything from the picture. Like that's an alien dance almost, you know?
so kept trying. So then a friend of mine's roommate goes to Myrtle Beach, meets a chick on the beach, excuse me, girl on the beach. It was 1975. Okay, give me a break. And in Myrtle Beach too. Woo! Everybody from West Virginia. We're headed there. We're drunk. But so she was throwing a thumber, and she tried to teach him how to throw a thumber. And he came back and showed me the little bit he tried to teach her. Boom! I had a thumber right away. Next day, I had a sidearm. Took me
Wow.
3 years. I can teach somebody in 15 minutes. So that's how far. That's what we were up against. No courses anywhere, no events anywhere. And no instruction anywhere. Oh, here you go. Get in there. Buttercup won't hurt anybody.
That's really, it's really interesting that you mentioned that too, because when we started playing in Arlington here, we kind of realized that that was the case there as well. And I don't know that, like, some people said, well, those guys just don't want to teach us anything, so they can keep beating us. But I don't think anybody realized that that was part of the deal then. At least at that point, at that course, I think everybody was just happy to be playing and happy to have a course and then a few new discs every now and then. But I think it took a while. I think it takes a while, generally speaking, before people realize that that's part of the deal. That you really need to help bring people along and help push the competition in some form or fashion. So that's it's pretty interesting that in the 70s you say that tell us that was happening, and I experienced it in the 90s too. And there's just so many different common threads in all of this.
Yeah, like I'm saying, what I did, anybody could have done. You just gotta. If somebody spills milk, somebody's got to pick up the mop. Somebody's got to do the work if you want to have fun.
But not everyone's blessed with the artistry or compassion or focus and dedication that North Carolina is. I mean, when that inaugural class for the Hall of Fame, entire regions would be blessed to have one of you in their history.
Well,
So
that's very kind of you to say.
it's great.
Well, and in all honesty, that you probably wouldn't be too tough to figure out 5 more people that should be right there behind them without trying even hard at all, because there's such a rich history there, rich history.
Probably 10 people in North Carolina that would be great candidates for the World Hall of Fame. Besides this class. But yeah, very fortunate. North Carolina's paradise. If you've been there, and it's just a great. I'm very fortunate to live here, and it's a wonderful 414 or more courses in the state now.
Wow.
Right. In 1985, I knew where every basket was in the state, privately owned. Not just where every course was. Right.
Do you know where all the foosball halls are in the state?
No, I do not. I've just recently gotten back into the foosball world. But I left tournament foosball to play frisbee.
Wow.
Really?
In a tournament, got my ass kicked. It was in Winston-Salem actually, and I went outside. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun's bright. I'd just been in a bar all day. You play foosball, you're in a bar, right? So I'd been in a So now I'm hanging out in a bar all the time, and that there's oftentimes a sinister element at a bar,
Yeah.
Oftentimes a lot of opportunities to drink, so I'm like, well, I need to do something a little more healthy. And so frisbee gets you outside, but last probably 7 years I've started tinkering with foosball again.
Well, we seem to have a bit more of a healthy lifestyle movement going on with less smoking indoors and certainly less daytime drinking. So maybe foosball's right in your wheelhouse now.
It's very good.
Well, it helps that he's got a couple tables.
I got
upstairs,
tables
too.
in my game room, so I don't have to. I don't have to go out.
There's no smoking allowed.
That's right.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about your career, and I've been kind of waiting to interject this too, but this is your goal. One of your goals in all of frisbee has been to have fun, teach others, and to win as many events as possible. And the first line of that sentence, to me, it's really remarkable that these frisbees came out in 1957-ish, in the late 50s. And so, we're coming up on 70 years of that particular toy in various forms and various shapes. That's just countless joy has been delivered to millions of people, not just hundreds of thousands, and it's just that whole, there's so many different common threads from your era, from your early era, not that, your latter era, I wasn't a part of that, but I was, and so was Paul. And we can tell stories too that are so similar from when we started playing, and just that joy, or like you've got great stories about when you were playing catch with your grandfather. And one of my favorite memories, one of the things, in fact, I drove by there this last weekend up in Kansas, the Kansas Coliseum, which is no more. It's now a aerospace learning facility for Wichita State University. But when we used to go to those concerts there, it was one lane, 2 lanes out or 2 lanes in. And so I was like, hey, let's load the cooler with a little more beer and make sure we got 2 or 3 lids, and we'd play in the parking lot. And that's where I got hooked. And it was cool to drive by there this weekend on the freeway, going by at about 85, 82. And I was just looking, I was like, yep, that's what I was talking about. It's right there, So I really think that's such a cool thing about all of this, is there's the common threads, travel, friendship, camaraderie. I mean, I don't know too many other opportunities where, I imagine obviously sports is probably one of the few places where you're going to have so many good friends that don't live anywhere near you.
That's pretty special. I mean, there's almost nowhere I can't go where I don't know somebody.
Yeah. And the more that you go, the more places you go, the more people you begin to know, the more the family grows. It's just, it really is family, fun, frisbee, the 3 F's in life.
Yeah. To me, it seems like I got brothers in all these other places. Like I got a ton of friends in Canada, the Toronto area, played with for years. Minnesota, I've been there a bunch. My wife's from there. I got a ton, Texas, Tennessee, it's incredible. It just, you go there, you feel at home, Yeah,
it's really cool. I really dig that a lot. So you were obviously, you got started in overall, because everybody did back in those days. And the first place where frisbee got its hook, well, the first sport that got its frisbee hooks into you was overall. Overall was ultimate, and the NC State Frisbee Club. And it's then all of a sudden you decide to retire to play disc golf. But talk a little bit about, when you first got hooked on ultimate, that what was that an organized excuse me, I'm having a little trouble spitting out my words today, but was that organized by intramurals, or was that just something y'all were doing, was playing ultimate?
It was NC State's club team. At that time, this predates when schools had intramurals. If you were lucky, there was there was a team associated with each school. And it was pretty sketchy in the early days of the UPA, because you'd have a bunch of guys that graduated there 4 years ago still playing ultimate.
On the same team.
Right, yeah. And you'd have guys that dropped out still, so there were really club teams. Like NC State had a team, Duke had a team, Chapel Hill had a team, UNC Wilmington, UNC Greensboro, so they were, we were officially recognized. I mean, we were checking out a van, driving to Charlotte to play, our ultimate team. But it was organized NC State, and then, played pickup, and same field all summer long. Just wonderful. Ultimate's great. If you've ever played it, you know what I mean. It's awesome. You get to run and throw, and if you're pretty quick and athletic, you got all the throws. You're probably a good ultimate player.
Did you find, because you had a better control of throwing the frisbee, that you were better? Could you throw better with ultimate, or?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Oh, fucking man, there's a lot of great players in our area, but when I walked on the ultimate field, I could play right away because I could throw a sidearm. Back then, particularly in North Carolina, it's hard to learn how to throw a sidearm.
That's really interesting, because it's one of the first things that I've always said is a dead giveaway of an ultimate player is that lean out sidearm. And it's not the same as a disc golf sidearm,
It
You know,
used to
there's
be.
there's a little more horizontal action going there with the plate and everything like that. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. Just pick it up.
Yeah, I got heavily into competitive ultimate. Like I say, I thought it was the best thing since baseball, maybe even better. Only need you could probably play 4-on-4. But I have bad ankles, kept blowing my ankles out for sectionals or regionals, and so I said, might need to play something. And also, I got fed up with having to be everybody's big brother. Couldn't text back then. Had to call everybody, arrange rides.
Okay.
Getting 12 cats, to some event, and and they
12
don't
cats
show
in
up,
one
don't
man.
show up on time for practice, and so if you're trying to be efficient with your time, again, I'm trying to just have a career, and so this 2 hours we're supposed to be playing ultimate, I can't lose 40 minutes waiting for every goofball to show up. So my physical limitations of bad ankles and only being 5'11", if you're 6'2", that helps a lot in ultimate, But I did help found one of Mr. Poos, one of the most successful ultimate teams in the triangle, one of the first ones from our area to make it to past regionals.
So we had Joanne Gallagher on most recently, and she was really big with Ultimate and really set her legacy in there. And one of the things that jumped out at me was the naming of teams and the kind of whimsicality of team names. So when I saw Mr. Poos, I thought to myself, where did they get that?
Well, one of my ideas, along with Drew Price from Duke, Duke's team was great. They'd kick our ass. NC State, they'd kick Carolina's ass. And then in our region, we had to play Atlanta and Dallas and Miami. And I'm like, dude, look how big an area they're drawing on players.
I was gonna say that's an awful big region.
You're never gonna. We eventually got moved to Mid Atlantic.
Yeah.
Virginia, Maryland, right? Because 1 year, 4 regionals were closer than our own. New England, we had to go to Dallas or some shit, from North Carolina, right? So anyway, but I said, hey, look at it. Atlanta's got a huge population. Dallas has got a huge population. Miami's got a huge population. You're just drawing from Durham. We've got to have a triangle team. So eventually we did, and it kind of worked like we thought it would, with some incredible play by people not named Carlton. And so we had to come up with a new name. So we were the Air Police. Drew Price was our artist. He made these killer jerseys all the time. So he stenciled Air Police, right? Well, his stylistic writing made it look like NR Police. And then the L and the I looked like a U. So it looked like NR Poos. And so for like one term, we played as Nancy Reagan. Ronald was in all of it. It was Nancy Reagan Poos. And then we officially adopted Mr. Poos.
Okay.
Yeah. For the internet, Pouce, Mr. Poos. So yeah, but that's the backstory. We were the Air Police, which I didn't really like that name a whole lot. When we were NC State, I thought Whirlwolves would be the perfect name.
Right.
Whirlwolves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got voted down. Yeah.
Oh man, they did.
You might not play with Mr. Poos. Yeah, damn. Yeah.
You came from the background of Mr. Wolf, not Mr. Poos.
That's right. That's right.
Looking back at that though, that's pretty, it's pretty understandable now.
And we adapted the Mickey Mouse song, MISTERPOUCE, Mr. Poos, Mr. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you participated in distance competitions, disc golf, accuracy, MTA, TRC, discathon, ultimate, guts, freestyle, and double disc court. Out of all that, what was your fave?
Double disc court.
Yeah? Why is that?
It's the most amazing game there is, probably. It's just hard to get people to play it. It's got a pretty steep learning curve, but you get to, it's one of the few frisbee sports where you're throwing away from people. Trying to throw distance people can't catch, right? And typically they're athletic and they can run and jump and dive and stuff. So yeah, you see some incredible athleticism, again, but we kept the pod going in North Carolina in the Durham area with Drew and Stu Hubbs and Eric Wooten from '82. It's still going on today. I retired a few years ago. Once I lost a step, I started diving, and once you're over 50, diving, probably a bad idea.
The The ground gets further and further away once
If
you
you
get
make if you make the finals at Virginia State's, which was a big East Coast tournament, DDC was, I did fortunate enough to have great partners who carried me, and we made the finals several times. That's 21 games, right? I'm playing front dive 5 times. That's 100 and some times. At that time, I was 55 probably. So even knee pads on. That 50-year-old dude does not need to be diving.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah. But no,
Right.
it like some sports just enchant you, and you're filled with the passion. Frisbee in general does that, of course, because it's magic. You're making it fly right where you want it to most of the time, if you're a professional. And please do try this at home. But baseball just did, and I love, golf, right? And then ultimate was like, holy cow, this is like football and basketball combined. I mean, there's more incredible plays in an auto ultimate game than you'll see in any NFL game. So that was fabulous. And then DDC is just a whole nother world because it's got strategy and it's got this incredible action and a chance to throw a big trick shot, which appeals to an egocentric old pro like myself.
Well, just so you know, I looked this up. I don't know if there's 700 to 800 plus people ranked in the world in terms of DDC, and you are in the top 100 of all-time DDC players.
All right.
So, ranked 98th, but still in the top 100.
Well, if I'd been playing, I'd be in the top 20. I hadn't played in the last, so I hadn't played since pretty much since we bought the cabin.
But you are a 7-time NC
fish
State
got in the way.
DDC champ.
Yeah.
And a 3-time Virginia State champ. That's a 10-time state champ in DDC. By far your best than any of the other overall events or the field events that you played. So obviously you love DDC the most, but you are also pretty good at it.
I can play a little bit, but mostly I'm persuasive, and get a good part or a great part. And, look, I can throw a few shots. If you just get us close, I'll push us over the edge. So I was very fortunate to draw the right partner. But it's fun. If you haven't played DDC, folks, you need to, right?
Absolutely.
If you haven't played Ultimate, you need to. If you haven't played baseball, well, you get where I'm going. But if you haven't played Frisbee while you're watching this, Or are you upset about the live scopers in bass?
What about
So
something like? Yeah, go ahead, Mace. Sorry.
Go ahead. What do you got?
I was just going to ask about discathon. That's something that I know.
Discathon is the stupidest Frisbee sport ever invented. Yeah. You can take a guy, Billy Bloom, great old dear friend from the all around days. He writes for Disc Golfer now quite a bit. Excellent guy, brilliant guy, New Yorker. He did a thing years ago because he likes discathon about as much as I do. And he hired some friends that were excellent long distance runners, and they placed like second, third. Never thrown a Frisbee before in their life, right? That's discathon. Yeah. So they added to the all around. I had to play it. Hated it. Unfortunately, I was kind of a quick little guy. I could throw good. Always went for the big Mandos and missed them and blew it. But if you could run a little bit, if you're a good runner, discathon was great.
So this actually occurs to me. We're gonna come up later in potentially if we get to this later, we'll talk about course design. Your feelings on mandatories, your particular contempt for mandatories, does it derive from discathon?
No,
Okay.
I had that from day one. Yeah.
Okay.
The famous quote I bounced off Tom Monroe years ago was mandatories are a crutch for poor course designers.
I didn't know where that came from, but I've heard it before.
The thing about it was, and that was one of the things I tried to accomplish with the rules. Some of the first early courses had a Mando, right? And then the Mandos, when I first got rules, they had some crazy. They hardly dealt with Mandos, but it was in the rules, right? So if you were a neophyte coming into disc golf and maybe designing a course on an island, not knowing what's what, well, we need to have a Mando. We got to have a hole with a Mando. It's in the rule book, right? So a lot of the early course designers that weren't Tom Monroe thought you had to put a Mando in there. So that was part of my crusade with the rules. It's like, no, Mandos suck. You should avoid them at all costs, right? The only good kind of Mandos are you can put a stake here that totally precludes a shot that way, right? That's the only good kind of Mando. The worst kind of Mando is a pole out there that you can throw over the top of and have a great shot. You just barely got to make it, you know? Yeah. But anyway,
The only good Mando is a dead Mando, in other words.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, so
Sometimes you got to keep people off the jogging trail, and sometimes you
Sure.
got to keep people out of the matriarch of the park's backyard, who donated the land. But just put something there that keeps you from going there. Yeah, Mandos that they use, like you got to hit them like a USDGC. Yeah, but clown's mouth, hate it. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about your record. According to the PDGA and StatMando, by the way, just as a shout out to StatMando guys, they do an amazing job. It shows your first PDGA database event being in 1983, but you obviously played in the North Carolina State Championships 80, 81, 82. Do you remember your first ever Frisbee event, your frisbee tournament?
Yes, I do. It was September of 1980. It was WQDR, a local radio station. It was the album oriented rock, super cool station when I was at NC State. And they had the Mountain Dew pumper out there, and there was a all around event. They had disc golf, distance, MTA. I think they just had those three put on by Tony Tomasino and the NC State Frisbee Club. And that was my first organization. Came back from the beach, my birthday weekend, to play disc golf.
Wow.
I wanted to look professional, so I got one of my mom's old purse, old white leather purse, for a golf bag. And in that golf bag, I had a Master, I had a 165, and I had a 40 mode 119. All purchased at Walmart. Kmart.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went out there, and that's when I met the establishment with NC State Frisbee Club and started playing Ultimate. Yeah. That's when the veil really got pulled back, and I saw, okay, yeah, there are more people like me. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The early tournaments were the areas for the people to get together, and you'd had this cross-pollination and fusion of ideas and styles and throws and attempts and just the amazing vitality of the zeitgeist. All you had was, way before social media, was newsletters like you put out, or publications, or these events where you meet people.
It's got to be so easy to do it today with social media. I remember one of the last courses I put in was Buckhorn out at Harris Lake. And I just was able to email people, right? Before texting, was able to email people. I got like 23 people out for a volunteer day one day, and 17 the next, and all different people except for like Stan McDaniel, who'd come from Charlotte to help here. So he would stay with me. It's a lot of, several of us were 2-dayers, but but yeah, it's got to be way easier with social media. It was really tough when you had to beat phones, and plus landlines, people move like crazy, and people.
Well,
phone
you had
numbers changed. Yeah,
you had
that's
to pay
pretty
long
crazy.
distance.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Here's something that'll blow your mind. When I was the rules committee chairman, I felt very strongly about having an avenue for interested parties to write with their rules questions or ideas. So at my insistence, the PDGA put an address to send questions about the rules or suggestions on the rule book. Most logical place to put it. Also you can put it in the disc golfer, but also I was behind. Hey, we got to mail every PDGA member a rule book. Well, that guy said, I don't care what it costs. If we're trying to standardize things, if we're trying to make sure players get a fair shake, whether they're in Topeka or Thomasville, right? You need to have the same, just look back at the early days of baseball before, they had a big convention in New York City to establish baseball was 2 words, to establish the formal rules of baseball. In 6 months, those rules were being used in Minnesota in 1896. So that's how important, standardizing rules is. Anyway, we sent that out, and so the PDGA said, so they used my personal address. So I'm getting all these questions about the rules. I wrote everybody a response, typing it on a typewriter. Yeah.
Okay, so let's before
Here's what's crazy. So that address is how Bill Boylan got in touch officially with somebody from the PDGA.
Here we go.
We will.
There's a video that Aaron Schindeldecker did about Boylan Family Farms. It's incorrectly stated on that. Steve Gooblehead, Steve Lambert's nickname. Goob is his nickname. My memory's the best. Ask Alan Beaver. But he said Bill Boylan came to Worlds, was in Charlotte as just a spectator, didn't reach out, didn't talk to anybody. Steve says they got a phone call. No. Bill wrote me a letter.
Yeah.
I called him back. I sent him some discs. I said, "What are you using?" They were using a Master and a 165. I said, "Dude, you're not going to believe how far we throw." So I sent him some rattle discs. I sent him some scorecards, rattle scorecards. I sent him some golf pencils. He invited us up for Memorial Day. So my wife at the time, Kimberly Clark, she and I went. I invited Alan and Steve. And so we met up there and camped in the campground. We drove in, and that's how we found Boylan's. Yeah. But he reached out, yeah, "Hey, I've got a disc golf course up here." And I started talking to the guy. I'm like, "Damn, off the blue, I'm looking, I got the, what was it? Gazetteer, I got my old maps to find out everywhere to fish. I looked on the map. I'm like, "Man, this guy, his driveway's off the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is a huge piece of property, So I'm thinking, this is, we get up there and it's mind blowing, The first hole, 600 feet through, you could birdie it with a real disc, but, So we all go, we meet and we throw off, and we're, Bill and his college buddies are up there throwing. So we're walking down the fairway, and as soon as we get off the tee, Bill and his friends are hanging with my wife. I said, "Damn, I can't believe how far they throw." Yeah.
Since we
there you go.
jumped onto there, this is the
There's Bill, there's
documentary.
Goob to the left.
This is a great documentary, by the way.
Yeah, Aaron Schindeldecker does some great work.
And this particular
Yeah,
chapter,
Beaver.
this is worth watching the whole documentary just for the story on Laurel Springs. And I was hoping that
He's wrong in that video, as I'm sitting clear now.
the record is getting straight for sure. But okay, so maybe those aren't. There we go. There's Beef. There's a young Carlton.
Yeah, that guy. Dave
Tom
Hesselberg.
Monroe.
That's Dave
Is that Tom
Hesselberg.
Monroe there?
That's
Who?
Dave
Dave Hesselberg.
Oh, okay.
Where I have so that. No, that's not the right one. I have it here somewhere. Sorry, I'll find it and I'll show it to you. But those are iconic views of from the first hole. They're back in the early '90s. They did a series of the world's best disc golf holes, and that was one of them. And for someone like me, growing up in the game, before I never got a chance to go to Laurel Springs. 1996 was my first AM championships, and at that time it was at Burlington in Cedar Rock and Wellspring. And so I missed out on my chance to go to Laurel Springs, but I had been, kind of gestated on this vision of these great disc golf holes and this beautiful vista and everything. It really did. From everything that we've heard about it, it seemed like a fantasy land. Do you remember your first impression driving up that big long drive from the Blue Ridge Parkway?
I said, "Yeah." I said, "Man, we're gonna have a blast up here." I said, "This is incredible." Yeah, we get up there and they're blazing away with a 357 Python, Colt Python, handguns too. You drive over there, liquor and handguns, and the longest disc golf course you've ever seen. I'm from the South, man. We're in.
And so,
but here's the funny thing. So we go up there and we see Bill and we play it. And of course, Steve Lambert is not always the most practical guy. So Bill hadn't harvested his hay on some of the holes. He's got Christmas trees, he's growing hay. But that's a cash crop for people that aren't rich. You can sell hay if you got, And so we're playing the course for the first time, and he had wooden posts, beautiful wooden posts, painted. You just had to hit the post. No, you could hit it at the bottom. So of course I'm throwing and trying to hit it. My putts are right. I'm not going 3-putt, right? Because everything's right at the bottom. So we play the first round. I shoot 55. First time we played through Boylan Family Farm. And Steve sees it. "Man, I said, "Yeah, we got to have a tournament here. We need to get everybody here. The PDGA needs to see this." I said, "This is something." And Steve says, "Yeah, nobody will ever shoot par here." I said, "Steve, are you crazy? I just shot 55 the first time through with 4-foot high hay on some holes. First time I've seen the course." and there's no pole holes. He said, "Oh, you were putting at the base." I said, "Dude, I'm gonna make more putts when there's a basket. Trust me." I said, "People will shoot par up here." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, what about when we get Dave Greenwell here, or Tom Monroe, or Steve Wisecup? There might be a little bit better than me, you know." So it was incredible. So Bill's super excited, and I said, "Dude, he said, do you think I could get on the PDGA tour?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." I said, "I'm kind of connected, and Steve's connected, right?" So we started lobbying and started talking to people. And so I'm old school, right? And I see this is incredible. This is a guy that's maybe going to change the sport with his vision, right? I'm not worried about baskets. So the same year we're there at Memorial Day, we're trying to get the PDJ to add Bill to tour that year. I'm like, "Look, you want this guy on tour?" I said, "I don't give a damn if we're throwing the Dixie cups, right? It doesn't matter for you." So I'm old school, right? You got a basket. I don't care if it's a tri-state for those folks that remember what a tri-state's like. I don't care what the basket's like. My putts are going in. I'm hitting in the middle, right? I don't care if we have baskets. We need to include this on the Pro Tour. And so there's some hesitancy with the PDGA to sanction it. So finally, with my insistence and Beavis speaking up and Stan, and then Harold got enough sense to listen to us, right? So we're making some headway. And then Steve says, "Well, hell, why don't we just get baskets?" Now, remember, this is right 85, 86. I know where every basket is in the state, private or. So I start calling everybody. Steve starts calling everybody. Steve runs around. So we wind up having. So the PDJ almost wasn't going to sanction it that first year because we didn't have baskets, and we wound up having baskets. So the night before the event, we're rambling down the Blue Ridge Parkway in a pickup truck. Jim Agins and I, a hell of a disc golfer from Ella J, Georgia, full moon, and we got 3 baskets we're going to set up the night before the tournament. A legend. Now you think about, you grew up with the mystique of Foolin Family Farms and not getting to go there. I was there on the ground floor, and I'm getting goosebumps now. Jim Higgins and I are looking at each other. We're grinning like, raccoons. We've just stolen a whole bunch of free plums. We're going to go set pole holes up. That's money for Jim and I. And the rest is history. When everybody gets there, like, holy cow. It was, for a while there, to me, it was more important than the World Championships. It was a bigger deal. And it kind of said, I think for Harold and Jonathan Poole, I think it laid the seed that became USDGC. It was just a earth-shattering, vision. It's kind of like what Dwayne Utek, did when he came into the sport. There's a lot of Rick Rossi, I've talked about it before. There's a lot of folks that maybe didn't have the staying power of somebody like Alan Beaver or Stan McDaniel, but they had a meteoric, shooting star impact on the sport. Bill Boylan certainly, and I thought we should have like a big party every year, like 1980s reunion meeting. If you were there, come. If you wanted to be there, come. Right. And have it, could have a tournament or not have a tournament. But just some way to get together, and it'd be great to get together and celebrate on a regional basis, have 8 or 9 or 10 of those, where you met and, hey, we're celebrating Bill Boylan. Think of all the wonderful people in Texas, or Minnesota.
Well, yeah, for sure. But the other
celebrate their impact, and maybe it's not great enough for the World Hall of Fame. Maybe it wasn't great enough for the state. Maybe it is, but just be a great, and plus you get together and you get to play frisbee. But so don't mean to be a doddering old man going off of how great it was back then. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of interesting, but unfortunate as well that a lot of those people like that got tarred and feathered and ran out of town too, and they had the best intentions. And that's we've kind of got to eat our young mentality or our great people mentality too, unfortunately, at times.
Here's the way disc golf works. And Bill Boylan, we were talking, what should I expect for this tournament? I said, Bill, first off, if you have a private disc golf course, everybody's going to want to come play on your property. They're going to pee in front of your wife, and they're going to litter. That's what's going to happen. At the end of the day, though, they're going to tell you how great it is, and they love it. So if you can balance the peeing in front of your wife and the litter, with the congratulations. You never want to own a disc golf course. You want a friend that owns one. If that happens, be very generous. Pay for all the gas, buy baskets. But you don't want to own a disc golf
People
course.
say the same thing about boats.
So let me ask you a question, Carl. I know that Bill started his tournaments, the Laurel Springs Open, with a shotgun start, literally the blast of a shotgun.
Yeah.
That's not where the phrase shotgun start comes from, but that pretty well epitomizes exactly what it means.
That is where the phrase shotgun start comes from.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah. Used to you fired a shotgun off, right?
Wow. But
Yeah.
from Bill Boylan's farm?
That's not where that term
Okay.
came for the whole world. That
Okay.
was Bill Boylan being literal. You know?
Ball off first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It was ball golf. It was actually, I hate ball golf. It's golf and disc golf. You got an ancestor that's 400 years old. They need due respect. Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, how did you got shivers just talking about Laurel Springs? Do you remember those shivery moments when the shotgun would go off to start the day's proceedings?
I do. Yeah, I do. How about a fog delay? Have you ever been in a tournament that had a fog delay? Maybe on the island in Toronto, maybe in Seattle, right? Right. Maybe at De La Viega. You have fog delay there, I bet, right?
It's
But
possible, I guess.
yeah, De La Viega, I bet you could have it. I'm sure there's places in Seattle and some of the great Northwest, and you could have it on any island course, right? I guess they probably deal with a lot over in Finland and Denmark and Sweden. But anyway, up in the mountains, you have significant fog, and it's you couldn't, you could not play. And we had like a 40. All of a sudden, then it cleared. It was kind of neat. My first fog delay.
Wow.
And not really in the rules there, Mr. Rules Committee. It was a weather delay. Yeah. But that was neat. But yeah, goosebumps definitely. Because it's a cool thing. Again, the passion that people have for the sport when you have folks that come on the scene like Paul and Brian or like Bill Boylan is what makes it wonderful. And you can see, that at the time I was like, hey, we're gonna look back on this one day and go, holy crap, how did this happen?
Yeah.
I didn't make it. I never got to play there, but I don't think it took very long before people were looking back on that and like you're saying and just going, wow. Because I mean, when it was gone, I heard from lots of people that like, man, you don't know what you were missing.
Dude, we were up there the whole week, I mean, it was probably the first tournament I ever went to where people were registering on Sunday of the event they just played. People were giving Bill cash Sunday evening for next year.
Really?
They're not taking a chance on getting shut out. Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Before we leave this, just want to share this. I believe this is you, is it not, Carlton?
Yeah, strange but true. It is me. Back in that was before Alan Beaver got his good hands on me. He played with no shirt. Alan said, how do you expect to get sponsors and stuff when you're walking around like you're going swimming? So Alan Beaver set the standard for the modern professional disc golfer, collared shirts. And so, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was telling somebody over the weekend, I was like, you never see B when he isn't looking proper on the course.
Yeah.
Like I say, he helped us set the standard for what a proper professional disc golfer should look like.
Now, I'm not sure, it's a little too pixelated, but that looks like either a beret or a Kangol that you're wearing.
That's a Kangol. I had a full Payne Stewart outfit. I'd play in knickers. Yeah. I played it that way at Toronto.
Okay. Well,
in Toronto, I had looked the Payne Stewart outfit. Had the golf sweater, right? Had the knickers, long socks. Yeah, Eric Junkin and I both started rocking that movement. We did it up in Boylan, but it was just so hot I had to pull it off. Yeah, so second round I was showing off my girlish figure.
Well, speaking of the island, why don't we just jump right in that, mates?
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. So first of all, I have to point out that this is the first time Paul's ever given me the island.
That's true. Usually I take over when we talk about.
And hey, rightfully, for good reason. I mean, it's obviously it's a gem, and it's one of Paul's home courses. So 1987, Toronto hosts the World Championships. The week before you played at Etobicoke, the 1987 Canadian PDGA Championships, you tied for 7th out of 55 with Dave Mack, and that was won by Wise Cup by 5 over Randy Amon, and then Slate, and then 6 over Slate Paul, Randy to Slate, that is. But then days later, you tied for 11th with John Ahart out of 143. What do you remember about that event? I mean, actually, really, that whole week, that had to have been pretty amazing.
Yeah, we also, Dave Hesselberth and I also played a doubles event at Etobicoke, and we took second in that. We took second in that, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's before everybody knew who Dave was. But no, Toronto, you know, like I say, I have such fond memories of Toronto because, like I say, I just felt at home. You know, I already knew Mike Sullivan. I knew, not Bob Blakely.
Ken Westerfield.
I knew of him. We had been at an event before, but I'm sure he didn't know me. But I made sure I reintroduced myself and thanked him for all his contributions. So I felt right at home there, and it was just wonderful. You know, just went up there, had a great week. I was feeling good, playing good. You know, and the temporary course on the island, there was a lot of hubbub about the chains were thicker. They had thicker chains. Those chains until you push your putts out. And I said, you know, it doesn't bother me. I'm putting right in the middle. So I went into that course, you know, I was back and forth, Super Puppy and Aviar, as was my putter. Then I just switched over from the 71 mode. And then we went to the island course, and it was real windy. So I said, I better use this Aviar. Shot 6 down on the island course, the one with the funky chains nobody liked, which was the course record at that time. It was, of course, it was beat the next round when some good golfers played it. But after that 6 under, I was tied for 4th. So I was in the lead group, except Mike Sullivan got the nod because he was the local boy. We were tied, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, that did have an impact on the PDGA rules. Yeah, it's got to be some random way to split ties so the hometown boy doesn't always get bumped into the lead group. In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was said, so it was written eventually. But it was just wonderful, you know. And that taught me 2 things. Number one, don't pay attention to the basket. If don't worry about the basket. You're hitting it in the middle, right? So everybody that worries about this or that about the basket, they're already setting themselves up for trouble, right? The other thing was, okay, I better use AVR all the time, right? Why would you have a different putter for the wind? Right? Okay, then I need to figure this thing out regardless of what, you know. So that seminal moment for my career as well, and you know, probably my best chance to win a Worlds. You know,
well, that 11th was your best place finish in the MPO, and you know, obviously 143 people playing, that was a big deal. And I think they only played, did they play the full 9 rounds on the island? Do you remember?
all the rounds were played on the island. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went back and forth between the regular course and the temp course.
Okay, so there was 2 courses out there.
Yep.
Do you recall the playoff?
I do. I was right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to remember at that time, everybody wanted the rules committee chairman handy.
Okay.
That makes sense.
You know, because at every Worlds there's situations. So at the Toronto Worlds, there's a big situation with the women. I can't remember who was involved, but one lady was putting at the basket when it was time to tee, and she didn't get to the tee, and you know, and so they whispered her. You know, I'm not sure I ever got the true story, but there was a big stink in the ladies division because one of the ladies in the league group wasn't at the tee at the right time to tee. So again, this is early. Again, you know, my impact on the rules had just begun, and so them taking a larger role, I guess, in events as you know, as the rules got better, you know, people started actually following them, you know, and so you got to have rules about what happens when people aren't there when it's time to start the round, because it's been a problem since time immemorial in disc golf, you know, and so you got to come up with some way, you know, and So that spawned some further rules discussions, There was something weird about it, it was her turn and they whispered her name, and instead of just saying, hey, Carlton, come on down and tee with us, you're up,
Oh, wow.
Carlton, Carlton, yeah. Yeah, so but it happens in the men's too, But that happened at Toronto, just suddenly that popped into my mind. That was interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's skip ahead to 1988, and in our so far our tour through your personal career, this may be one of your high watermarks. 88, you were, so according to Disc Golf World News, in the top 10 stories of 1988, you were the number 4th top
Thank you,
story because you had the hottest win streak of the year, 5 straight events in 7 weeks. And that was notable for a lot of reasons. You came close to winning Player of the Year. They gave it to Dr. Rick because he had 8 Masters wins and 4 Open wins, whereas you had 8 Open wins. You weren't playing Masters at that time. But I guess they had to give it to Rick because not only did he win the Worlds as a Master, but his score as a Master was much better than Ahart, who won the MPO. How is it like Dr. Rick could play both Masters and Open? What kind of competitor was him? He was a very difficult player, wasn't
he? He's amazing. Yeah. Remember that was his mini after he played that. Was that Cincinnati Worlds when he?
Yes.
Won Masters with a better score than Ahart. So no, Dr. Rick and I are very dear friends. We played at Sylvia too. We played together a long time. I think one of my putting tips helped him out early in his career, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
I may be making that up. But Dr. Rick was a tough as nails competitor, he's a doctor, right? So, that helps in his preparation, that helps in his, practice, very orderly, and, excellent player, yeah. So I never knew I was in the running. So that makes me feel good.
Well, I mean, you thanks to that streak of 5 wins in 7 weeks, you made it to 8th in the top 25 money winners for 1998, and you also appeared. The Disc Golf World News loved to put these rankings of the top 200 players, and because of that top hot finish, you made it up to 19th in the top 200 for 1998. So that was
something flawed with that rating system, but I'll take it. I did win 5 in a row, and the crazy thing about it was it got to me. Then we go play at Kingsport, Warriors Path. If you've never been to Kingsport and played Warriors Path, go. Wonderful. Some quirky holes. You eat at Powell's Sudden Service. Only restaurant to ever win a Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award, and it's a greasy cheeseburger joint. Yeah. Fun fact, food. I'm an expert on eating unsafe food. Yeah. Who did?
Cooper Johnson mentioned it in the comments that you love Pals.
Yeah, baby. Pals, Sudden Service. Yeah. Back when Harold Duvall traveled, we went up there and stayed together. We ate every meal at Pals.
Yeah.
Hall of Famers.
How many cheeseburgers did you have over there?
You want the what is it? You want the Pal Special with chips. I forget that you don't get the cheeseburger. You get the Pal Special with cheese. But it's really a fabulous place, but it is a greasy cheeseburger place.
Nice.
But anyway, so Kingsport was a place that was very Carlton friendly. It's 21, 22 hole course, a lot of them short. I shot 21 on a 24 hole course one time there. Right. I played so crappy the first rounds, great. Usually I'm in the running here. I should win. Screwed this up, done a rip off a 21 under and jumped back into the mix and into first place. So that's the kind of course it was. So anyway, I'd won 5 in a row. We're going into Kingsport. So then it kind of got in my head, won 5 in a row, yeah. That's how you lose your next one.
Oh,
you can't think about result. You got to think about execution. It's just one shot. This is the shot I'm making, and I'm going to nail the heck out of this. This is the putt. This is the putt I'm making. When you think about, I'll be 5 under, 10 under, or I'm going to win a set. Yeah, that's when you lose.
So that year, also, according to the Disc Golf World News, the disc of the year was the Stingray. Did that enter your bag the moment that it came out?
Yeah, it did. It did. It's weird, Stingrays thought of as a turnover disc, but some of the first ones they produced were these dark purple ones, and they were overstable. And so you could start, at least me, a little weenie arm, you could start out Anheuser them and they would go, amazingly far. I'm not sure everybody figured that out, And so I kind of cornered, I ordered so many of them, I had so many of them. Harold called me one time and said, "Can you send me some of those back? I need about 3." So, Harold Duvall, yeah. So those interval boys don't know. Those interval boys don't know what they got sometimes,
Well, but you know what? I think that purple, and now obviously we're talking about DX plastic. We're not talking about all plastic, but there's like it didn't matter the era. Like the purple discs for some reason always seem to have some sort of magic to them. I've gotten a lot of purple rocks that were way better than any of the other rocks that came in the same box, And it was like black discs. If you found 2, you were lucky,
Yeah.
But I remember several purple discs, DX plastic, obviously, but that were just amazing.
Here's a tip for new and old players alike. It's been one of my habits forever, and I'm not sure if Jim Akins came up with it or I did, but every top player I run into or hotshot young kid I see now, I said, "Do you mind if I look through your bag?" Jim Akins and I really got into it about 1990. Well, can I look at your bag? So yeah, when you're friends with Dave Dunapace and Harold Duvall, or any disc company manufacturer, if you're friends with one of their sponsored players or one of the owners, you probably want to look through their bag. They probably got some great discs. So at Arizona, when Kenny won his first event, I think, was that 90, 91?
90.
I'm out there and I go up to Sam Ferris and say, "Sam, can I look at your bag?" Yeah. So I look at Sam's bag. The AVR he's putting with, same one I'm putting with. His stable AVR, same one I'm throwing. The disc he's rolling, same one I'm throwing. Now we picked those discs out independently, right? I hadn't looked in Sam, but I mean the exact same disc, same color, same, so that, interesting,
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting. You look at a top player's bag, you will learn something. Here's a funny story with you. Oh, wait a minute. Mike Randolph, fabulous player. I was there when so many guys were just young kids coming up. And I'm like, "Ooh, that's going to be a problem here in about 3 years, Yeah. I remember when Avery Jenkins and David Feldberg were just bumbling around right about cash. They were talking about me and Mark Ellis. "How do you guys?" I said, "Don't worry, guys. You're getting ready to rip it open." Anyways, they were playing Worlds. I think it was Michigan, the Dwayne Utah Worlds. They were playing Worlds. I was, of course, a player that Mike was sponsored by Discraft at that time. And we're happening to be crossing. He sees me throw a drive and it stank. I was a really horrible tee shot artist. Worst upshot player in disc golf history, and I could putt a little bit. I drove so bad I had to be graded upshots. Anyway, so I throw a real stinker. The disc turned over like a mother. Might have stayed in bounds. I think I gracefully, got to a 4. So there's a backup. Mike crosses my path. He walks up, looks at my bag, and says, "You should have thrown this." Pointing to my what is it? Banshee. You should no Viper. You have a super overstable disc. I threw something that flipped over. Went to the Mara OB. So it's funny. I'm sitting there stewing. Mike was like, "Yeah, you should have thrown this one." So
A young kung kid.
Were great too.
Yeah. So he knew what I should have thrown. Yeah. After I threw that, I knew I should have thrown it too, but I was trying to get a little extra distance.
On-course consultation services included.
Yeah. I was like, "Hey, can you show me how you throw your bogeys? How you grip your bogeys?" Here's my bogey grip. Thank you. Yeah.
What about throwing that fit?
Say what now?
What about throwing that fit?
Throwing that fit?
Yeah, that disc. That was the disc you were going to come out with. Called the fit.
Yeah. For a while there, I had a little shtick I'd do at tournaments. "Hey guys, a new disc company's come out. I'm sponsored." I said, "Yeah, they're making the fit. I'm great at throwing a fit." Yeah. Gosh, I've forgotten. I got old and forgetful. But yeah,
That's all right.
disc golfers will believe about anything,
Yeah, they will.
even on April Fools.
That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
perfect timing for it.
So you played. How many times did you go down to the Triple Crown?
Well, don't you know I created the Triple Crown?
You created the Triple Crown?
Yeah, kind of in a way. Me and Ed Burt, and long story, but Tom Monroe. So when I was playing Ultimate, the Duke team went on spring break Ultimate tour to Florida. They didn't have enough players. They called me up. Hey, we need a couple of your guys from state. So Ed Burt and I jumped in the car. We drove down to Florida with them playing Ultimate. So we're down there for a week, weekend to weekend, staying in flea bag hotels and playing on the beach and playing Ultimate, playing all these Ultimate teams. Played Miami, they drove up, we played Sarasota, we played Orlando, So we're hanging out like in Cape Canaveral where Rock Ledge was, the original Ed Aviles pay-to-play course at Rock Ledge. So Ed and I, of course, we're all around players. We're sneaking over and playing disc golf every time we can at the Rock Ledge course. We meet Ed, this wonderful old, guy from New York that moved down there in his retirement. He's bought this piece of property. Ed sold him on disc golf. He's got it fenced in. It's pay to play. Since 1982. We're in heaven. Cool little deal. He's got a pro shop. And just having a blast. And so we get back after the Ultimate thing, and I tell Ed, I said, hey, that was great. Let's do that every year, because that was like February, right? So cold in Raleigh, we can drive to Florida, so that next November there was a PDGA at Rock Ledge. Ed and I went down. I think we might have drug Tony. I don't know if he went, and we went down and played Rock Ledge in November. So then the February event, we had Tony, we had me, Dave Hesselberth went, we had, I think, Jim Markoff, Vanessa Chambers and Coleman Thompson, Steve Flippin Ed and I talked it up. We had like 10 or 12 people from North Carolina go to Ed Aviles PDJ event in February of 82.
Wow.
Tom Monroe's there, Steve Slazer, all those wonderful Florida players. Nick Hart, overall player, Tammy Pelicane, Tony Pelicane, all these fabulous, a lot of talented frisbee players in Florida. And Tom Monroe says, we ought to do one on both weekends, right? Because y'all are coming for a whole week, right? And I explained my strategy. Yeah, it's cold in North Carolina. We can come down here, take a week's vacation. Even if there's no tournament, we can play disc golf all week, get ready for the tournament season, And so the next February, Greenwell, I talked to Greenwell, Eric Junkin, so all of a sudden it starts being a thing, and then it does become the Triple Crown. Tom convinced us, so we play, I think the first year it was Ed Aviles. We played Tight Flights at University of Central Florida in Orlando. We played Turkey Lake. And then it switched to two of those same courses, and then the courses started changing, and then they added the course in Clearwater, which is how we all met Kenny, Roger Bunning and CR. So, but it was, in a way, Ed Burt and I created Triple Crown because we started a huge influx. I'm not kidding. We had 12 guys and girls from North Carolina go down, and then Tom said, hey, and then once Tom and I and Ed Aviles get in it, and then Bob Lewis, once we added was it Barnett Park in Orlando, right?
Yeah,
and
Barnett
we
in
had
Orlando.
Clearwater. So then we played, then they took Ed Aviles course out of it, and I wasn't happy with that because he was a cool dude, and played Wickham, played some other courses, so but it was great. And then the Triple Crown kind of became a thing. You go down and get all these points, and lo and behold, you got, all of a sudden you got a whole lot of good players. Bob Vanderboss coming down,
Oh yeah, right.
The guys, the guys from my neck of the woods, the really good players started coming from Raleigh, and then of course, Kenny comes on the scene. And so why wouldn't you want to go play with the guy who appears to be the next bully, And
So
first round, Kenny Climo played as a professional. He was in my group. He was, he was in my group. Yeah. Kenny walked up with the first touring pros he saw were myself, Dave Hesselberth, Alan Beaver, David Greenwell, and Eric Junkin.
Wow.
He was like a puppy. What do you look at? What grip strengtheners we were using? Looking at our disc, And, we left that event. Of course, he didn't win, luckily. We left that event. We're driving back, and I was telling Beeve and Hesselworth, I said, if that kid learns how to putt, he's going to be trouble.
It's
You know
funny.
what?
We've heard this
He
story.
did. He is. He did it. He is. So he
We've
and
heard
Roger
that story from Greenwell too.
He and Roger
So hey,
Bunn.
I
Came
want
up.
to pause you for 1 second. I don't know if you ever knew Tim Willis.
I know Tim
He,
Willis pretty well. Yeah.
He passed away. So
Oh,
R.I.P.
no.
Tim. No,
Oh,
like
no,
literally in the last couple of days, Tim passed away. So
that is
I just wanted to give a shout out. He was always someone I look forward to seeing at USDGC every year.
I just
And,
saw him this year. I'm so glad I got
Yeah.
to see him. Tim was a
Yeah.
wonderful guy and
That's a good
definitely Hall of Fame for both World Hall of Fame and Florida. Left-hander, one of those little Satan handers. Tim Willis, wonderful guy, great golfer, and overshadowed a little bit by all the great golfers in Florida. He momentous impact on the sport, both in Florida and regionally, and probably the whole Southeast.
Well, he did a hell of a lot of support for the USDGC every year. I mean, he came and bought a lot of stuff. He was in and out of that pro shop. We all knew him well.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Without a doubt.
Getting back to Climo really quickly, in '88, you go down and play his first pro tournament is at the second Alligator Creek Classic, where you say you met him. He takes 22nd out of 40. You take 4th. You go back the next year, and the first event of the Triple Crown is Rockledge. You take 5th. Climo takes 14th. You go to University of Central Florida, you take 3rd, and Climo wins in a playoff over John Andrews. Now, is this where you kind of realize, oh, this kid kind of learned his putt and he's got the game now?
The first year we went, before he showed anything, he was throwing a cruiser roller, if anybody remembers the Discraft Cruiser, a whole 10 at Clearwater over the lake there at Cliff Stevens. He was throwing a cruiser roller trick shot, squibbing it. Yeah. Every time I see
Over the lake?
bring up that cruiser roller. Well, when you got a talent Kenny does, and to me on a shorter scale, you can do all kinds of weird shots. You know what the disc is going to do. Don't you remember that cut roller up shot I threw at USDGC on 18 that time? I was in the bushes, threw it backwards, and rolled it within 35 and canned the putt. Yeah.
Wow.
I have to admit, I was probably licking my own wounds at that point. So
now you went ape shit at the time. There was some kid watching. He said, "Dude, you will never see a shot like that." Yeah, obviously,
well,
forgiven.
that was a pretty memorable round. That was the one where we played with Harold as well, correct?
I'm old, forgetful. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I didn't realize you could say anything worse than GD until I played with you.
Yeah,
and you put the F in the middle.
Yeah, I can. I'm fairly eloquent when it comes to sailor talk.
Well, I'll say this too. You got pretty mad at yourself, and you were scolding yourself, and Harold gave you a courtesy violation warning, and you said, "I earned that one. I'll take it. I'll accept it." And you settled down, and then you started crushing. So
there you go.
You got to own up to it, particularly when you're a rules committee chairman. I was playing it. I think I was playing at Worlds with Jeff Harper from Iowa. Fabulous guy, fabulous player from.
Without a doubt.
We played together a long time, and tough hole. Tough 3. I got to make a good up. Don't make a good up, but I'm Carlton. I got a 32-footer. It's money. Miss it. So I let him. Little F bomb out, and Jeff says, "Well, that'll cost you a courtesy warning." My wife hands there with me. I said, "Yes, sir. I deserve it. Thank you." And then that year, after that event, I nominated Jeff for Bob West Sportsmanship Player of the Year award, and he won it.
Nice.
Well, very deserving. I mean,
I knew he was upset by that type of language, and I needed to let it out though. You got to get that stuff out. You can't keep it in until the next hole. Very hard to turn anger. Occasionally you can get a little more distance, but anger is usually danger when it's on the tee. So I needed to get it out, and I unfortunately, wasn't a gentleman about it, and I took my licking. Both times. I earned it. Yeah.
Those were two examples of where you've done a minor infraction of the rules. Everybody knows the rules, they know the process. But just as equally, there have been times in tournaments where you have known the rules and you've been able to improve your advantage, whether it's the stance of the lie or something, because you've known the rules of the PDGA and the players in the group may not have. Do you remember some of those incidents?
Oh, absolutely. And just a quick piece of rules theory on that. It has long been my theory that a majority of players don't want to know the rules in detail, particularly back in the early days, because they might be breaking them and not know it, right? And so if they don't know it, they don't know the rules, then they don't have to, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I've always been a person, I mean, I read the owner's manual, all right? I've always been kind of my mother was a school teacher, right? So you're supposed to get it on the first time. When I was a TD, don't ask me a question. I already went over that, you know. But anyway, so uh, my theory was all if you got to know the rules because there's advantages within them, right? You're better off knowing them. The first is if you don't know them very well, somebody else may know them worse than you and give you a penalty when one doesn't apply. So early in my career, I was Kenny happened to be there, and he was still learning to win every event he played.
Yeah.
Still getting him a few times, you know, getting him while I could. And so we're in a discussion. There's always a lot of rules discussion. It's one of the burdens that comes from being the rules committee chairman. And we're talking, and I said, look, I went through this theory. You know, most players don't want to know the rules. It's going to help you more than it'll hurt you. In fact, I won a tournament one time because I knew the rules, right? So we're playing at Kingsport. I won 3 or 4 events up there, a little downhill hole, you know, and there's a creek. So you got to almost hit the creek to be on this little spit of land where the basket is, right? It's an AVR shot, 2,300. You just throw a stable AVR down there, bump, hit the ground, drop in. Well, if you hit a tree on the way down, it's downhill. You know, it's almost straight downhill. This is going to roll in the water. Creek is OB, but the bank is the line, and the line at that time was in. My disc is in the creek, floats down, stops. Well, hey, it's touching the line. It's in on the side that the basket's in. I can mark it there. I can move a meter in directly towards the basket. Bang, easy 9-foot putt. Birdie that most people would have taken a 4 on because it's OB, right?
Wow.
No.
You win the tournament because of
But
that.
it's wedged against the bank. Is it touching the bank? The 3 people in the group, yep. The guy who thought it was OB didn't like it, but yes, touching the bank. Pulled the rule book out. Boom, boom, boom. Won that event by 1 stroke. That would have been a 4, or I probably made it, probably been a 3. So, you know, but you know, the rules are going to help you more than they're going to hurt you.
Wow.
Now that I'm retired, my math is not guaranteed.
But everything's online anyway, so you don't have to worry about counting scores anymore.
That's right.
So listen,
I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that.
we've obviously had a great time chatting with you. We've got so much more material to go through, so we're not going to be able to get to it all. I know Mace is gonna want something to wrap up on his side, but before we get to go, I just wanted to ask you, one of the things that I had come across when I was doing a lot of the research about the Frisbees in the 70s was the Smithsonian Festival, the big festival they have at the National Air and Space Museum at the Smithsonian. I think that started in 76 or maybe 77. But you were an instructor from 83 through 87. And I had no idea that it continued to go on at least until the later 80s. What was it like when you were in those 5 years, 83 through 87? Was it as big and as popular as it had been in the years in the 70s, or was it even bigger?
It was probably bigger. We used to set the world record every year for most discs in the air. Right?
Wow.
Guinness, everybody threw discs up. You know, it was real popular when they had the hacky sack and frisbee festivals. Every event was supposed to do that photo op. And of course, we did those here in Raleigh. And then the Smithsonian had a hacky sack and frisbee festival. And so, or DC had a hacky sack and frisbee festival. And then when they had the Smithsonian, it was the Air and Space Museum doing the frisbee festival. Virginia's always been a frisbee hotbed, you know, home of Scott Zimmerman, home of Fredericksburg, Virginia, the mother of all around frisbee on the East Coast, pretty much that and the Octad up in Philadelphia. And so a lot of frisbee in that DC corridor. and one of the guys was connected. And so we did have this, Labor Day weekend, have this massive, thing on the, mall there at DC,
What a great place to have a frisbee festival too. I mean
yeah.
that's a spectacular. I mean, I can't really put my finger on any one particular thing about that whole entire area, but like if you haven't been, you really owe it to yourself to just go down there and walk around and check out all those monuments, because just being there is spectacular. It's just it's overwhelming to some degree. You see a lot of things like, you've seen the Lincoln Memorial on the back of a nickel your whole life, and the Washington Monument and the mall.
We're trying to throw MTAs around the monument and catch it. Nobody could do it. Yeah, it's a hell of a throw.
And it's just, I mean, there's so many cool things there, but to be able to be in a frisbee festival there, that had to have been epic.
Here's what was epic. Every year they'd have a dang dinner for all the instructors, for the frisbee guys and girls. And one year they had it in the Air and Space Museum. We're in the Air and Space Museum after hours drinking beer and throwing meanies.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean,
isn't that unbelievable? I mean,
more appropriate place to be throwing minis indoor than the Air and Space Museum.
Yeah, and then so what an appropriate place to put on a frisbee festival, the Air and Space Museum.
That's amazing.
They were into it, and then they added they had a DDC event in conjunction with it, so you could double dip.
Wow.
In fact, Billy Bloom and Judy Horowitz played Stu Hubbs and I in DDC at one of those frisbee festivals.
And so was it you just ringed with spectators watching while you played?
No, it was just the people playing DDC, just like it is today.
Okay.
It's a niche sport that nobody knows about. Yeah, like disc golf used to be, but
it's too bad.
I remember in 1981. We had an object course at NC State, the NC State Frisbee Club. Tony Ed, and not the one Mike Mason and Sidney Wilson had. We had a course over there. I'd be at work, and I was just giddy. After work, I was going to run home, change clothes, and go play frisbee golf. There wouldn't be anybody else there because only about 10 people knew about, only 20 people that lived in town knew about the course. None of them played disc golf on a regular basis. They were all ultimate players, right? And so then we'd play night golf. We got a camera flash and shoot those midnight flyers. And we're like gods hurling thunderbolts, Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, but it seemed like it should be illegal. I said, we're going to go have all this fun and nobody even knows about it. Now you go to a course in Raleigh, you can't get on. They're so crowded.
Wow.
That's that. But see, both of those are signs of that joy. I mean, it's that toy continues to deliver that joy. And continues and continues and continues. And it's, I don't know, that's a pretty amazing success story in itself, that to have come up with that and then place that in people's hands, perpetually, that's not going anywhere. It's just going to keep on going forward.
Yeah, all sports are a blessing, but we've been particularly blessed with frisbee.
Yeah.
The dang thing flies,
Just the grace of flight, the fixation of the physics of it all. It's beautiful to watch, and it's even more beautiful to participate. And just one of the things that was said on your induction in the North Carolina Hall of Fame, the Disc Golf Hall of Fame, March 18th, 2024, just a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And I'll just quote this. I can't remember who said this, but the person who's running that Facebook account. It's not an overstatement to say that Carlton has had one of the largest impacts on the sport of disc golf worldwide. We've interviewed a lot of fundamental pioneers, creators, founders, builders of the sport, and you take your place. I mean, North Carolina wouldn't be the hotspot that it is without certainly your efforts and your abilities and your talents and your charisma. So thank you on behalf of the sport of North Carolina, on behalf of disc golf, and on behalf of the Good Times. Thanks for taking the time to
without a doubt
chat with us.
So hey, you really brought a lot of new people to the yard today too. I'm just going to read down through the list of people that stopped by for a little bit. Obviously Robert Leonard's a big fan of you're a big fan of his too, but Terry Calhoun, Schwebby, Tim Oates, who's Jim Oates' brother, his twin brother, Casey Allhouse, Brad Bishop, Thomas Kasurik, Kent Johnson, Chris Ware, Mark Jacobson, Crystal Haggerton. Kent said Carlton's the greatest instructional rider of all time. So that's a pretty good, that's That's some good words there from an old schooler as well. Chris Ware, Greg Brooks, Brad Tucker, Cooper Johnson, Matt Fitzwater, Ryan Estes, Tim Scanlon, Scott Zimmerman said, "Good to see you, Carl." Doug Fritz, Keith Mason, Walter Haney, Patrick Raymond, Jeff Davis, Aaron Dimpton, Brad Sargent, Michael Cockrell, Kevin Gleason, David McDonald, Otto Spires, Chris Ellis, Hal Kurz, Frank
Kansas
Ursino.
City, wait, Mokane.
Who's that?
Kansas City boys.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mokane, smoking, Missouri, Kansas. That was a
Mocan.
Mokane.
Yeah, Dennis Janney,
Damn.
Dalton Romo, Ved Disc Golf, Carl Baldwin, Schwebby pops up again, so does Walt, and Travis Reynolds. Anyways, I just wanted to, I can't really get to all this every time, but I see lots of new faces for a lot of different people, and thanks for helping us spread the word, man.
Hey, I'm honored. This is incredible. I think you overstated my role. I was just trying to do what needed to be done. But
Well,
yeah, North Carolina is a wonderful place. It'd be crawling with disc golfers either way, but I might have helped a little.
certainly the right person at the right time and the right place for sure. And
Don't make me cry. All those
oh,
names,
come on.
incredible. It's incredible how many people I've met. What's really scary though is other year I was playing, kid comes up to me, I say kid, he's probably 30, says, I remember when I was 13, I played in your group. I said, uh-oh. I was 13, he played in my group. This could go either way. This might not have a happy ending. He said, man, you were great. I wasn't always good. I was very opinionated about mixing AMs with pros. I did a whole lot for amateurs, but I didn't want to play with AMs. I'm a professional. So that could have gone either way. But that apparently I was playing well. That young man had a good day. But, yeah. The first round ever I played with you when I was 13. I'm like, oh, please, Lord, let it have been good, Carlton.
I think good Carlton was seen more often than bad Carlton for sure, at least on the disc golf course. So,
thank you very much.
thank you again. Honestly, this has just been so much fun chatting with you about a lot of the great stories from North Carolina disc golf, and especially disc golf history from the 70s and 80s. So thank you for taking all this time with us, and just keep doing what you do. You are definitely truly valued member of both Halls of Fame, and hopefully more people can learn more lessons from your great examples.
Thank you very much.
No one-word answers and no one-sentence answers either, as predicted.
Thank you guys for what you do. Frisbee's pretty cool. Let me you guys play a frisbee.
We definitely appreciate it, and it's we learn something every week, and you're just an addition to the list. So,
well, what you need to do as soon as possible is come to North Carolina and play disc golf. Maybe fish a little, but be sure you bring your wallet. North Carolina.
I'm gonna bring some worms this time too.
Take some money out of there.
Well, I'm willing to spend some money on North Carolina barbecue. That's for darn sure.
Me too. Yeah.
And some rubber worms.
That's right. Cinco's. 5-inch
Cinco's.
Baby bass. Baby bass is the hot color.
Well, all right, Carlton. Thank you so
guys.
much. And we look forward to seeing you on the flip side.
All righty. Take
Have
care.
a good one, buddy.
You too. Love you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
sir. Love you too, man.
Bye-bye.